Accords were hugely important. What we saw on April 14th, when, as I said, the United States was providing support with a multi-layered air defense, having Jordan and Saudi Arabia participating in that is just a little bit of a hint of what the value of being accepted in the region by the moderate Arab world is. If you look at an alignment where Iran and its proxies are on one side, and Israel and the West, the United States, are on the other side with all of the moderate Arab countries, it is a much stronger place to be. Now, I think there's a pathway still to accomplish that. I think that even in this difficult moment, there's still a serious conversation with Saudi Arabia about normalizing relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia. I don't think you can get there if you don't also have a pathway for dealing with the legitimate interests of the Palestinian people, not Hamas, but the Palestinian people for a better future. Now, I've heard people say, how can you do that? How can you allow the outcome of October 7th to be a victory for Hamas getting a Palestinian state? I actually don't believe that anything that I've said would be a victory for Hamas. It would be a defeat for Hamas if there were actually normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia. It would be a defeat for Iran. And I think if you have a demilitarized, autonomous governing body where you're actually able to have a future that provides for security and dignity for the people of Gaza and the West Bank, that is a safer future. Now, I know that's hard now, right, at this moment. But I think to call that a victory for Hamas, it has it backwards.
Sounds very worrying, what you say. Because I would like to ask you, what will happen if we continue the war in Gaza? There is no way out in the north, and maybe there will be confrontation that is unprecedented, not unprecedented, but very, very challenging to say. And then Iran, one day, will cross the Rubicon and develop military nuclear capability while not having the alliance with Saudi Arabia and all the important things you mentioned. What is your vision based on your long experience?
I don't see how a future of endless war is going to make a better future. We haven't talked a lot about the hostages, but let's talk for a minute about the negotiation for a hostage release and a ceasefire. Why is it so critical? First and foremost, you have people who need to come home to their families. It's just a human issue that has to be resolved. But strategically, if there were a hostage deal and there were a ceasefire, it would open a doorway to a discussion with Hezbollah, Lebanon, about avoiding a war. It would open the doorway to finishing the normalization discussions with Saudi Arabia. It would open the doorway to strategic steps that could make the rather dark question not as likely to be the future. I think that the challenge right now is we can't give up on trying to end the war in Gaza in a way that leaves us positioned to win the strategic future. None of that will work if there's not a day after strategy for how to govern Gaza. It's one of the reasons that we've said for months now, it's already late. You need to be thinking through how there's going to be civil order, civil administration. We've made it clear we think the Palestinian Authority has to be part of that. Leaders here have made it clear that it's only if the Palestinian Authority is reformed. There's only one group of people who can do the work to make civil order come back. And we've got to figure out how to get those people to work in a way that meets everybody's needs. I think that's possible. It's hard, and having security conditions that permit it is probably the first and hardest, challenge you have to get over. But you have to be able to talk about it. You have to be able to work through these issues and solve these problems in a meaningful way. to look at a future, where, Iran's, worst instincts shape the future is not a good future. We have to look at creating a better future.
There's a very worrying declaration by General Brown that he is like number one in the hierarchy, and in the military hierarchy of the United States, that he said, I think yesterday, that maybe in case of confrontation with Hezbollah, we would not be able to accept the same efficient support by U.S. or something like that. What we need to understand from this declaration, because based on my experience, the declarations are not made by some without considering it first, let's say.
Look, I think we've made clear that we continue to support Israel and its need to defend itself. We've also made clear we think the right course of action is try to avoid a war in the north, and that's why Amichay has been going back and forth between Lebanon and Israel, and he was just here last week. We're going to continue to try to pursue diplomatic outcome, which is, I think, closer than people think in terms of most of the issues. We just are not at a point in time where there's the kind of quiet in Gaza to permit that to get to a completion. So I think that is our objective. In terms of our commitment to defending Israel, I'm sure you noticed this yesterday when CENTCOM announced that one aircraft carrier was leaving, the Eisenhower is leaving. It also announced that another aircraft carrier is coming, the Teddy Roosevelt. These are not small things. Moving an aircraft carrier group is a big deal. And I can't tell you exactly what is going to be available when. That's a complicated technical set of issues. But we've made it clear that, we think Israel has to be able to defend itself. Does that mean we want a war? No. Does that mean we're urging it? We're urging a diplomatic solution. That is our preferred outcome. We think it's the best outcome for Israel, the best outcome for the region, and the best outcome for the United States.
The last question is, do you have any, let's say, optimistic vision about the situation here in the Middle East based on what we have just discussed?
Well, look, I actually think the fact that when you asked me where does wisdom come in, and I described a strategic vision of how this war could end in a better place, that is optimistic. It's not without hard decisions. There are hard decisions that will have to be made, but it is an optimistic vision. I think Israel's resilience is a source of optimism. I'm new to diplomacy. I'm not new to economics. Israel's economy is coming through this war stronger than many people thought it would. That's very important. The future is going to have a lot of challenges. And I think to be really optimistic, the United States and Israel as partners can succeed in almost anything that we work together on. And I believe that. And it's why we have to make sure our countries stay close together and not allow issues to be created that create daylight.
The last question is a personal one. How do you enjoy your service based on your long career in the most important functions in U.S. government?
Well, I would be exaggerating if I said this is what I expected when I accepted this appointment in July last year. I thought I was coming into a position where the number one objective would be completing a Saudi normalization deal while I was here. I'm committed to still having that be the objective.
Mr. Ambassador, I would like to thank you as Ambassador of the United States. Personally, it used to be my privilege to be, let's say, to be part of our unique cooperation between the U.S. and Israel I need to share with you that, again, it's our unique relationship. It's a major pillar in our national security. I cannot imagine our future, our security, without this. I call it steel dome. What the United States is giving us is so various areas of national security, of military cooperation, intelligence cooperation, international arena, and so on and so on. So, Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much it's a great honor to host you here. And I feel optimistic that as long as you are here, we will be in better position. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor and privilege